My sister moved out. My parents can't seem to understand why I know everything and refuse to tell them. Ages and names won't be shared, but for the sake of the story I'll give a general age range on each person. Mom and dad are 30 to 40, sister is 18 to 20 and I'm 15 to 17. I'm keeping this all vague because A, privacy, and B, if my parents ever found this story it wouldn't be good for anyone involved. Anyways, moving on to the actual issue. My older sister moved out last month. She's living with my grandparents now, so she's not in danger or missing or anything like that. When she left she gave my parents a vague explanation as to why, but basically summed it up to not being happy in our household. My parents have been confused as to why she left and, expectedly, quite hurt. They don't understand why she left, but they are well aware that there's more to the story. What they don't understand is that she left because of my mother. My mom is egotistical, self-centered and so much more. It's not the best description, but I don't feel like cursing my mother out on the internet, and I feel like narcissistic or anything more technical isn't accurate or is too extreme. Ever since I could remember she was the one in charge. My parents weren't partners, it was a dictatorship. My dad worked long hours, sometimes due to the nature of his job had been gone for days. The house never got cleaned if he wasn't home. My older sister was often the one to cook while my dad was gone, and if she didn't, we'd get something cheap like McDonald's. My family wasn't financially well off growing up. We had enough to pay our bills and get the bare essentials, and after that toys, clothes, were anything free from Facebook Marketplace, etc. I'm not ungrateful. I knew we could have been worse off, but if my mother had actually gotten a job during this time we would have been better off by a long shot. My mom's mood dictated the mood of the entire household. Fights between my parents were frequent and threats of divorce or calling my father names were usual, the main things said by her. Fights are less common now, but when they happen it's usual the same thing: name calling, threats of divorce, something gets thrown and then someone storms off. My family is also 90% sure my mother is or has cheated on my father. When I shared an Apple ID with her I could see that she had Tinder downloaded at some point. People have seen my mother at bars acting all touchy with some guy, and I've seen an unsaved number texting her "I live you." I didn't read the texts, so I'm not sure if that's a typo or if I would have found more context within the conversation. The point is, my mom is a miserable person to be around. She can be great, I've been given a good life, and she's nowhere near as bad as what some other people have to deal with, but every time I'm around her it's like walking on nails. She also doesn't listen to anything. For years I've been trying to get professional help for my mental situation, which isn't too relevant, but to sum it up, I've been dealing with anxiety and depression issues and things that usually come along with those. This is all why my sister moved out. Her own mental health wasn't treated until she was old enough to make the appointments and attend them on her own. She was stuck basically raising me until I was independent, and she just couldn't stand being here. My father isn't a bad man, but he's a pushover, and I think that with everything going on he is choosing to stay ignorant. I hate seeing how much my parents are struggling not knowing why she left, but if they were ever told why, my mother would immediately begin denying and victimizing herself, and my father would jump to her defense. I'm planning on leaving the second I'm able to, using college as an excuse to get far away. Again, I love my parents, but I cannot deal with this for the rest of my life. Even if I move out, if I stay anywhere near them they'll still have to put up with this. I'm not really sure if I'm doing the right thing or just trying to spare myself from having to have this conversation with my parents, but either way I think if my sister wanted them to know they would by now.